Okay, it's halftime here at Lake Martin. The first 6 months are over, so I thought I'd give us a halftime update of the market report at Lake Martin, real estate wise. So in this video, I'm going to cover what the average home sales were, what the average price is. I'm going to tease you with what I think might be a record so far on the lake, but also cover lot sales, the whole shebang. Okay, we always like to look at raw numbers of home sales. So what happened compared to last year? So far, we've had, this is year-to-date June, the end of June, we had about 136 waterfront homes sold, and that's the entire lake, all agents, all brokerages. That's up about 2% from last year, because last year was 133 homes the first half of the year. And also, to compare, so up 2%, I was kind of surprised by that. But we are still 10% below our 5-year average, which to me feels about right. But again, this is through the end of June, but here at Lake Martin, this is not really a half of our sales, because the bulk of our sales happened from March to October, with really those hot months, May, June, July, August, September, being the bulk of our sales too. So trending slightly ahead of last year, but still 10% lower than our 5-year average. All right, so what are some pricing trends that I see so far through June 30th of this year? So far, we've got $195 million worth of waterfront home sales on Lake Martin through the end of June. Now, if I average that out on those sales I just showed you, that comes to about $1.4 million as our average sales price for so far this year, which I was kind of surprised by, because last year, and that's $1 million right there. All right, so last year for the entire year, the average was about 1.21 million. So far we're trending about 10% up higher than on average sales price for 25. So people that watch this channel a lot know that I usually give green indicators for seller market indicators and red ink for buyer market indicators, just to differentiate. So if you're looking for a seller market, that's obviously a good thing. Now, what about some other stats that I like to track? I just started tracking these last year, and I think they're worthy. But so what I track is the number of homes that have sold that had to have a price drop, and then the numbers of homes sold on the other side that sold above list. So what we can expect to see is, well, let's just take a look at it. So last year, 32% of all homes that sold had a price drop. So far this year in 25 is 36%. So that's actually about a 10% increase in the numbers of homes sold that had to drop their price, which is a buyer market indicator. That's good for buyers. But what about over list? Was it balanced on the other side? Okay, so all last year in 2024, about 8.3% of homes sold above list price. Where are we so far this year? It's 3.6%, so that's actually lower than our prior year average of homes selling over list, about 50%. It's a pretty big drop. And so I think that's another buyer market indicator. To me, pricing wise, what I'm seeing and what I'm talking with other agents, pricing is in a little bit of a wacky area right now, especially in this average price range from about 1.1 to about 1.5. Sometimes it can be hard to price homes because you get surprised on some things. So this is sort of a Jekyll and Hyde slide, I think, to me, because on one hand you see increased average price. I mean, that's a huge seller market indicator, and on the other hand you see these. So kind of a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde here. And by the way, if you enjoy numbers like this, I am trying to be the most helpful real estate agent on Lake Martin, bar none. And these videos are a way that I get a lot of my clients and how I connect up with a lot of folks that I can help. So if you think we might be a good fit, just please give me a holler. I'd love to help you out. And just to give you one more stat on pricing, I took a look, and if you wanted to count residential sales on the waterfront through the end of June, about 18% sold for below $750. Now, this stat includes condos. I did not pull out condos for this stat, but my imagination tells me, or my history tells me, that if you pull out condos from that and just looking at just single family homes, that number would be way, 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 way lower. Because like right now, I've got a I've got a condo under contract in Harbor Point that would fit in this category. And I'm about to list a home that would fit into that category. but it's pretty few and far between. But if you just look at residential sales in general, from 750,000 to $1.5 million is 47% of the market. So that is the big, huge hunk of the big middle part of the bell curve. Like we always, I'm a nerd, right? I'm a math guy. I love look at a bell curve, just make it nice and pleasing. And I actually would need to break that farther down a little bit, but 47% chance if you buy a residence on Lake Martin, it's going to be between 750 and 1.5 million. And incidentally, right now, so far through the end of the year, we had 12 homes that sold for over a $2.5 million mark. Now, incidentally, here's a little teaser, and it'll probably be in the next report, but we had a closing that was a little bit over $8 million recently. And here's a little teaser, incidentally, we had a home that just closed, but it closed after June 30th that sold for over $8 million, and it's inside the Willows neighborhood, which is over by Willow Point, so Russell Land's neighborhood. I think that might be pretty close to a record recorded in MLS at least of a home anywhere on the lake over $8 million. Now, there's another home sale that I heard about that was off the MLS, a private sale, way more than that, and I'm trying to check that one out before I don't want to report something wrong. But anyway, some teasers for maybe our next report. All right, so what about inventory? What about homes for sale? If you follow my channel, you know that I believe really strongly in always talking about sales and inventory, the number, because a lot of times you'll see both nationally and locally or statewide or whatever, you'll see all these gurus. When it's nice for them to talk about the home sold, we'll talk about that. When it's inventory, we'll talk about that. I don't believe in that. I like looking at the same stats year to year and then tracking the trends. So what are the trends? All right. So far this year in 2025, our days on market averaged about 92 days on the market. And in last year in 2024, that was 88 days on the market. So we were slightly increased, maybe about 3% increase there. And this number comes up into play because, like, when I sit down with sellers or people maybe that are thinking about selling, just maybe kind of pondering the idea, the question comes up, all right, so if we get on the market from the time we're on the market to the time we're sold and closed, how many days, what can we expect? And so that's what we're expecting now, about 90 days on the market. Now, for our particular market, it can be a little bit tricky because, like I said earlier in the video, we're a seasonal market. So sometimes it depends on when you're putting your house or your lot or your condo on for sale. Because if you put it on in right at Thanksgiving, those first 3 months could be pretty slow. That could add 90 days on the market. Incidentally, I don't really think. I mean, this is just kind of agent confidential here. Like, I don't really think buyers in our market, at least, really harp on days on market if something's been through the winter. So I really don't think it matters through the winter. Now, if something's been on the market like a year, and now that speaks, right? But what are our other stats here? All right, inventory, the straight up inventory numbers. I was a little surprised because May and June averaged about 10% lower than the same month in 2024. Okay. What about though if we're still 25% below, we're still 25% above our 5-year average? So if you just looked at May and June, you would think, inventory is trending down year to year. But if you step back and look at the 5-year average, we can see that we're 25% above our 5-year average. So when you ask the question, or people say, well, there's nothing to buy on Lake Martin. That's not accurate. Our total inventory numbers are higher. However, if you start looking in really tight segments, if you were to say, hey, I want to be under $1 million on the west side of the lake in a house, well, you're gonna probably come down to about 4 or 5 sales per year out of 260 something. So when you slice it down real thin, that's why sometimes it feels like there's not many things to sell. Like, for instance, today, after I shoot this, I'm gonna go show 2 houses in the Parker Creek area. One of them's right at 800. It's a 2-bed, 2-bath, and then another one's a 3-2 that's like right over $1 million. And so I bet those 2 home sales are going to be 2 of the few in Parker Creek under 1.1. So again, the more parameters you have, which is fine, that's why it might feel like there's nothing to sell. Okay, what about waterfront lots? I get a lot of questions. People had a guy call me yesterday that he's a builder and he wants to build his own house, and so just looking at lots, what's the lot situation so far through June of 25 on Lake Martin? Well, our sales are actually down a little bit. In June of 24 through the end of June and last year in 24, we sold, this is all agents, all brokerages, everybody sold 29 lots through the MLS, and it's only 26 this year with a decrease. So that's a decrease of about 10% of numbers of lot sales. Now, curiously, I looked in June of 2025, this June, we sold 0. There were no waterfront lot sales registered for June. And the last time that happened was June of 2012. So for the first time in 13 years, we've had a month where no lot sales were recorded. Curiously enough, the low price on that was $95,000 on a lot in Minoy Creek on the east side of the lake. The highest was about 2.32, and that was a lot which, if you watch some of my previous videos, you know the answer is the Heritage. It's a really popular new Russell Lands neighborhood that have been selling a lot of lots recently. But what is really interesting too is inventory-wise, right now, so you think, okay, a 10% decrease in the sales, how's that affecting lots? Well, I think it's more than made up with the lack of inventory for the lots. So now I'm going to agree with you. If you said there's nothing to buy on Lake Martin, if you're talking about lots, I'm going to agree with you, because this time last year we were averaging in the mid 70s, you know, 73, 74, 75 for lots for sale. This year, so far, almost every single month, we're hovering around the 40s, like 43, 47 lots for sale, waterfront lots for sale on a 40-something thousand acre lake, 800 and something miles of shoreline, or however big it is, 3 counties, 40 lots, 40. That's it, okay? And I'm going to go over some pricing for you later, but that's kind of why it feels, I think, that the market for lots is pretty tough right now. Okay, to delve a little deeper on the lot side, because even though there's only like 26 or so sales, I wanted to kind of dig a little deeper and so we could see what's happening there. All right, so price-wise, if you ask, okay, well, you know, what are lots selling for at Lake Martin? I'm probably going to tell you $500K. That's going to be my sort of knee-jerk if you pin me down to one number, and here's why. All right, so of those 26 sales so far this year, this is the end of June, we had 3 sales that were 0 to 200K. There were 8 sales from 200 to 500, and then there were 9 sales from 500 to $1 million. So kind of like home sales, you know, if you had to bunch it into a bell curve, 200 to $1 million, which is a long, you know, stretch, I know. But anyway, that's where most of these sales are happening. 1 million to 2 million, there were 3 sales so far this year, and over 2 million, there was that one sale I mentioned earlier in the Heritage. So that's why I'm saying, like, if somebody asks me what should I expect to pay, I'm going to probably really more tell you like 400 to 600 is going to be the bulk of where these waterfront lot sales are happening. But again, when only 26 are selling through the whole first 6 months of the year, there ain't a whole heck of a lot of lots. And incidentally, what I thought was interesting too, 10 of these 26 are home sales where it's in neighborhoods with no like architectural restrictions. And so these, so prior years have been pretty much dominated by neighborhoods like the Heritage that have a pretty heavy architectural review control. Here, these are 10, but you know, that's also, there were, I think maybe 5 of these sales were by Alabama Power. Alabama Power and Russell Lands are really our 2 biggest landowners. And Alabama Power has put in these sales into the MLS for comp purposes. And so you see it go in and like it's got 0 days on market, and which pretty means they had them sold, you know, before they put them on the market, but they're in for comp purposes. Like, you know, I don't really know. I've got my theories, you know, the agent had it already sold, who knows, but whatever. But anyway, I think a pretty high, unproportionately high number of these sales so far this year are in non-ARC neighborhoods. Then I did my same price drop look for lots, and only 15% of the lots that sold had price drops. So that to me is a pretty strong indicator of, I think, a strength. I think this year it feels like we're in a seller's market for lots, for sure. One of the worst metrics that I think you can use on Lake Martin is price per square foot. It will trip you up every time, and it is a strong siren. I'm a math guy. I would love to have some great price per square foot theory, but it just doesn't hold up, and I thought this would be a great chance to see why, just for the millionth time. We had a sale that for $4.447 million in a 5,400 square foot house that came out at $813 a square foot. We also had a $350,000 sale at 866 feet, which was a condo, at $395 feet, dollars per square foot. So if you say, okay, what is the highest and the lowest? Well, it ranges, Lake Martin ranges from $400 a foot to $813 a square foot. And my point is, that's such a wide range that just goes to show you, don't start at per square foot. You need to start with what I've said a million times: view first, privacy second, location third, and then the improvements, the bricks and sticks, are fourth. That's how you price Lake Martin property. And while you're at it, please subscribe to me on YouTube. You just go on accounts and hit subscriptions and follow, and that way it'll put my videos right at the top. So when you turn on YouTube, boom, it'll be right there. It's the best zero-cost way for you to help support the channel. And what are some of the top neighborhoods so far this year? The Ridge. I've closed a couple myself. In the Ridge of some people that would like to be inside a neighborhood setting. It has. It's one of Russell Land's larger developments. It has a marina inside there, a lot of different amenities, so that's the Ridge. Also, Trillium is another example that's close to my old office here of Russell Land's neighborhood that doesn't have a whole lot of amenities, but it is on the Kalijah side of the lake, really flat, woodsy neighborhood. Another top neighborhood so far was Stillwaters. It's over on the east side of Lake Martin, in the Dayville area, in the Blue Creek area, southeast side, so it's close to Auburn and all those sort of things. But it too is a gated neighborhood, and it too has a lot of amenities inside of it. It's got a Harbor Point marina. It's got the landing at Harbor Point. It's got a steakhouse. It's got a golf course. You're close by a neighborhood grocery store. So those are some of the top neighborhoods. And I also get asked a question of, what are the cash sales? Is cash really heavy at Lake Martin? And generally, yeah. I mean, because we're a second home market, 80% of our waterfront homes are second homers for people. And so, so far this year, about 41% of sales have been cash. Compare that nationally to 28%. You think, well, that's only 13% difference. Well, 13 over 28, that's almost 50% greater than the national average. And probably what I always say, a lot of these other sales, probably 10 or 15% or maybe 20% more sales, are almost cash. So I had a closing a couple months ago where it was a $2 million sale, and there was a loan involved, but the loan was only for $600,000 of the $2 million. And so, yeah, that's a finance sale because there's a loan involved, but really, I mean, they put down $1.4 million. So, and I don't know if we'll ever be able to track that number, but we don't track that in MLS, so you can't really know. So that's why I can't really compare it. So I can only go off what I'm seeing in my own closings. But anyway, that's why I think we're heavier than usual cash-wise. Also, another thing that I'm seeing too, and maybe just kind of that we're top-heavy so far this year, is I'm seeing an increase homes sold that were designed by architects. That's a big difference. And what I'm going with there is we see a lot of different types of lake houses on the lake. Some are old cabins that are fixed up. Some are maybe were spec houses from years ago. Some new houses were maybe built in the last 10 years, but from a plan that somebody kind of picked from a magazine somewhere or something like that. But at least when I say an architect designed home, I mean a home that was designed by an architect for that lot, for that client. So that's where an architect comes, they look at the lot, they look at the sun, they talk to the client, and it's specifically designed for that lot. I'm seeing a market now, and kind of I don't want to call it a separation, but there's a definite premium, I'll say it like that. There's a definite premium for the homes that I see that are custom designed by architects for each lot. Like, for example, one of the ones I closed this year was done by Bobby McAlpin. I mean, certainly one of the most famous architects around here and certainly nationally, But anyway, that's a great example of one where it definitely, you can tell it's designed because, homes that you feel like, I always call them shoehorned in, like if they found a favorite plan somewhere, or that's a plan they had back in the city. Oh, I love this floor plan. And they kind of shoehorn it in and force it to the lake. With the architect design house, you usually don't have that. You have a house that takes advantage of the views, takes advantage of the natural topography, and I don't know, you can just tell. But what I'm saying is, I'm noticing a premium, another kind of echelon of homes that are designed like that and selling on the lake. And I think what may be affecting our high home sales numbers this year. And just as, oh, by the way, this might be my last video I shoot here at my office at the downtown headquarters. I have bought a new office building and I am moving there. We're gonna trick it out and make office suites out of it. I've been renting here at Nails. It's been awesome. I think maybe 18 years I've been here, and this may be the last video I do from here, so please excuse the mess. But I am building out some office space. If you need some office space, let me know. If you just need a little room, you know, not much or whatever, I would love to lease to you if you want to be in the Kalijah area. It's going to be on Highway 229, in between Highway 63 and where 229 heads towards the dam, in the Red Hill area. It's going to be downtown Red Hill. Hey, if you've enjoyed this, and I hope you have, I'd love to help you out real estate wise. This is one of the things that I really love about the lake, and yeah, I sell all over the lake. I got a listing right now over in Little Kalijah. We've got a closing I'm going to for a home that we just sold, listing that I just sold in the Sandy Creek area. This afternoon I'm going to go show a couple in Parker Creek. So I sell all over the lake. Love to help people out. So if you think you might be a good fit, please give me a holler. I'm John Coley with Lake Martin Voice Realty. Thanks.